Good morning. It's 7 a.m. and we're out at Legatafo Track in Ethiopia, following a big group of athletes. Some of these guys are world record holders, world champions, and have done super well in the recent indoor championships. Yeah, we have Hanna, who's a PhD student studying Ethiopian running, specifically female athletes, and she's going to be guiding us through today's session. Okay, Hanna, can you tell us what's happening here today?
Well, what I believe is what I was told was happening by the coach is they're doing 5 by 1500, and there's a lot of people on the track. 4 of them are incredibly good athletes who just all medaled at the Indoor World Championship. So Gudaf Tsegay, who also broke the world record, and Lemlem Hailu in the 3000. They should be in the front, I hope. But then there's like a lot of other women who have recently joined this group since they've been doing so well in the last couple of years. But yeah, it should be a good one.
Do you know why there's such a big emphasis on the upper body in Ethiopian drills compared to like anywhere else in the world?
Like the training?
Yeah, there's so much like upper body movement in the warm-ups and the cool downs.
I'm definitely not the expert, but I know that there was like an emphasis historically on physical culture here, and like there was a lot of overlap with the military, and I think that a lot of the kind of aerobic training came out of that. So I think that like that's something, maybe it comes from something like that. I think it's also like a lot about loosening up the back though, loosening up just like the whole body.
Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely benefits to it. It feels good after a run too.
Yeah, definitely. It's very different than the sort of like ABC skips that at least that we do in the US. It's also one thing to hear though, it's like there's so much emphasis on like rhythm and being together. So here's like this is like a fun research fact. When they're actually training, like you're usually runners train in a line here, which like most people know. And if you kind of like are falling off the pace or something like that, so Megbot in Amharic means like to enter, and then Gabi means like get in, and the Gabinya is like the front of the car, which is like a comfortable place to ride. So if you're in a line and you're about to fall off or something, or if you're like, people always say this to me because I'm always falling off the back, they'll be like, get Gabi, get in. And when you have like a really good workout, athletes will be like, oh, I was in like the Gabinya all day. Like I was like riding the wave the whole way. So there's like a lot of emphasis on like this kind of rhythm and like staying together as a group, which was cool.
So Legatafo is one of the main training grounds in Addis. It's a dirt track, standard distance in this oval, but then there's a longer track around the outside, around 1.5 kilometers.
Exactly, and they actually built it like 2 years ago. I was here when they were building it for athletes to have like an additional kind of training space here. They were trying to create new places to like safely train, basically. There aren't a lot of these kinds of surfaces. And there are so many athletes that live in Tafo, actually, just around here.
So it's nice and convenient for people to get here as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is pretty typical for a day at Tafo, just completely packed.
Yeah, definitely. And I was saying before, yeah, during COVID, this is where everyone was coming, especially when there's like no group training. So the whole outside track too was jam-packed. But yeah, if there's a track day here, there's usually quite a few people on it.
Okay, here we go. 5 times 1500 meters. This is their first lap. Do you have any idea what their rest between efforts will be?
I have no idea. Apparently it's not moving, so that's interesting. I feel like that's not very typical from what I've seen. So 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
Decent.
Yeah, not bad.
So something super interesting that you'll see a lot in the session is there's the pace setter sitting at front and they stay there the entire session while people sitting in second, third, fourth position will constantly shift around during efforts. So the lady sitting in third will move around, overtake and go sit in second for a bit. And the coach explained that he encourages this because it emulates a race situation where people are constantly overtaking and the order's changing and there's surges in the pace. And so instead of running efforts at a consistent pace, the athletes are thinking about these things while they're running and they get used to that constant shuffling around.
You said alright, no, it's just 4. I think you might have cut one, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
They were going pretty fast, so I wouldn't be surprised. Also, one guy earlier when you were biking, he's like, Coach, there's 4, right? And the coach was like, no, it's 5. He's like, no, it's 4.
Surely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Addis Ababa.
Oh.
Addis Ababa. Hanna Gudaf Hailu. Hanna Gudaf.
Aswaman. Man.
ከህሪት በኋላ ያለሽ ጥቁር ያረገሽና ነጭ
እሺ
አዲስ ናቸው
አዲስ ነሽ
ወጣት
She's a new one.
እሺ ወጣ አለፈታል
Go business? She runs 1500. The one all
ከዛ በኋላ ያለሽ
She's the 4th one, the one wearing black, you said.
Hey.
Yeah, so this one.
Last one. 4 times 1500.
That's what she said. People are tired, maybe. You know. Hey.
Okay, here we go. Final rep. And we had some more join. And finished.
በዛ ፕሮግራም መተከላለከን ይሄ ግን ታሳብ በተለይ ጫማ ፓወር የምንሰፋ አለ ግን አይንጣ አንፈልግም
So a lot of the sports structure here was military for many years, and
That's
still
definitely,
is. Well, not really.
So that's like the old history. That's like where the sort of original clubs and stuff came from. And then, like in the communist period, they kind of followed the sort of like Soviet state sports model. And so then you have all these like state systems basically supporting clubs, which is, and you see vestiges of that now, right? Like, so the military, I mean, one of the biggest clubs is Mekalakia, which is like the defense group. But then also like Commercial Bank is one of the biggest clubs in Addis. And like a lot of where these athletes came from was Mesfin Industrial, so it's just like an industrial club in Tigray. So then you've had efforts, some are much bigger, and then you have like regional sponsor clubs, but you have efforts from like Aromia Waterworks or something, and that's been like a good one. But there's been like failed ones, so where like a flour factory will like sponsor a club, but then it kind of falls apart. But it's often usually like linked to the state in some way, and also like there's just a lot more state sponsorship in general for athletes here than most other countries, I think.
Yeah, way more than Kenya, that's for sure.
I bet. I mean, the amount of money in terms of like dollars and foreign currency is quite low, but a big reason, there's a lot of athletes here that can like make a very basic income sponsored by a club and have like their basic needs met. I don't mean to like suggest that it's glorious. Living in these clubs is not like where you ultimately want to be, but it means that you can support hundreds and hundreds of athletes training full time for like quite a number of years.